Karen was the kind of woman who'd get offended by the sound of wind chimes if they weren't HOA approved. The second she became president, she marched around like she'd been crowned Queen of Suburbia, clipboard permanently attached to her hand like some bureaucratic weapon. My ranch sat peacefully on the edge of this pristine cookie-cutter neighborhood, with my cattle, chickens, and then the occasional mule minding their own damn business. But apparently I was too rustic for Karen's vision board of manicured perfection. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch HOA drama. First one complained about the smell. Imagine blaming nature for smelling like, well, nature. Then came one about my tractor being visually offensive. That's when I knew this woman wasn't just power tripping. She was plotting. My ranch has been here long before a single cul-de-sac was carved into this land, but Karen strutted around like she discovered America. One morning, I found her taking photos of my barn from the sidewalk, like she was building a case file for the FBI. Next thing I knew, she was holding a meeting, the kind where residents show up just to eat free cookies and gossip. She rolled out this ridiculous PowerPoint about preserving the community aesthetic and how agricultural structures don't align with modern residential values. Half the crowd just nodded, either clueless or too polite to laugh out loud. But I watched her, the way she paused dramatically before every slide. The smug smile when she said the word eviction. She thought she was playing chess. I was barely out of bed. I didn't say a word. I let her speak. Let her rile up her little fan club with their matching visors and judgmental side eyes. She passed around a petition urging residents to vote for a cleaner, safer, ranch-free neighborhood. I heard she even went door to door, probably threatening folks with HOA fines if they didn't sign. She was gaining traction, but not for the reason she thought. Nobody wanted to be on her bad side yet. That didn't mean they agreed with her. She didn't know what she was starting. Not yet. Karen's campaign against me picked up speed like a shopping cart with no brakes. Loud, chaotic, and destined for a crash. Within a week, she'd plastered the entire neighborhood with glossy flyers featuring a photoshopped picture of my ranch looking like a junkyard. "Say no to rural blight," it screamed, as if the word blight had just crawled out of a Scrabble game she'd lost. I even found one taped to my mailbox, which I'm 99% sure is a federal offense, but I let it slide. For now. She started showing up more often, always with her weaponized clipboard, jotting notes like I was an alien threat to humanity. I'd tip my hat and wave every time. Drove her nuts. One afternoon, she brought along 2 HOA board members, Todd and Cheryl, who looked like they'd rather be waterboarded than be seen near manure. She pointed at my goats like they were crime evidence, whispered something, and stormed off in her usual cloud of citrus perfume and entitlement. Then came the letter from the city, official and stiff as a bad handshake. Karen had filed a formal complaint citing zoning violations, environmental disturbances, and my personal favorite, community disharmony. I laughed so hard I nearly fell off my porch swing. They gave me 45 days to contest it. I marked the date on my calendar with a red pen, not because I was worried, but because I was very entertained. Now here's the kicker. Karen scheduled an emergency HOA vote. The big one. The ultimate neighborhood showdown. If the majority voted against my ranch staying, they'd strongly recommend the city revoke my property's residential compatibility status. Basically, exile with paperwork. She even rented a food truck to lure in more votes. Free sliders with a side of manipulation. Smart move if it weren't so laughably obvious. But here's what she didn't notice. The whispers. The odd glances. The way folks started talking when she left the room. Some remembered the blackout last winter when my backup generators kept their pipes from freezing. Others recalled those drought weeks when my well-kept sprinklers running and toilets flushing. But Karen? She didn't know. Because Karen never asked questions. She only gave orders. Her vote was coming. And she thought she was about to bury me. The night of the big vote looked like a budget reality show. Lawn chairs, angry whispers, and Karen dressed like she was attending the Met Gala instead of a neighborhood powwow. She strutted onto the community center stage, microphone in hand, grinning like she'd already won an Oscar for Best Performance in Delusional Leadership. The crowd trickled in, lured by her flyer promising decisive action against ranch-related disturbances. She really thought she was about to toss me out like expired milk. Karen started her speech with a dramatic sigh and a click of her PowerPoint remote. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, we are gathered here tonight to make history, to reclaim our neighborhood from chaos, from clutter, from cows. Dramatic gasp. One guy coughed. A kid yawned. She droned on about property values, suburban serenity, and how my tractor shattered the morning peace. I didn't even own a rooster, but you'd think I ran a zoo based on her rant. When it came time for comments, a few folks spoke. Cheryl rambled about her rose garden, and Todd mumbled something about livestock smells, then shuffled back to his seat like he'd just confessed to a crime. Karen beamed. This was it. She was ready to drop the hammer. Then Mrs. Gilroy stood up. Sweet, quiet, 80-something Mrs. Gilroy who barely left her house unless it was bingo night. She looked at Karen and said, is it true that when the city's pumps failed last August, it was his ranch that kept our taps running? Karen froze, like a statue programmed by denial. A few heads turned. Murmurs spread. Another neighbor chimed in. Yeah, during the summer outage, he let us fill buckets at his place. Another added, my son works at the utilities office. He told me the ranch connects to our backup lines. Karen's face went from smug to confused to borderline panic. I didn't say a word. Just sat in the back, chewing on a toothpick and letting the truth unravel her like cheap wrapping paper. Her hand clutched the clipboard tighter. The HOA board started shifting uncomfortably. The vote hadn't even started yet, but the tone had changed. Karen sensed it, like smoke before the fire. Her perfectly orchestrated ambush was beginning to smell like wet dog and regret. Karen looked like she just licked a 9-volt battery. Her cheeks drained of color as she stared down at the stack of documents I'd laid out for the entire room. Pages stamped, signed, certified, proof that my ranch was the only reason half this pristine neighborhood still had functioning pipes during the drought, power failures, and infrastructure meltdowns the city kept pretending didn't exist. And now everyone saw it in black and white. I wasn't aware of these arrangements, she stammered, trying to keep her voice steady while clinging to that clipboard like it could still save her. That's your whole problem, Karen, I said, stepping up to the mic. You don't know anything about the systems that keep your little manicured paradise running, but you sure do love trying to run them. The HOA board was scrambling. Todd flipped through the pages like he was hoping one would say, just kidding. Cheryl whispered something to a guy who clearly wanted to vanish. That meanwhile, the neighbors, they were loving every second. A few even pulled out phones. Karen's public coup had turned into a public spanking, and the only person still clapping was her own ego. Then I leaned in, nice and slow. Now, given the damage Karen's campaign has done to my name, my operations, and the threat it posed to your water access, I said, pausing to let it simmer, I've got terms, not threats, terms. Karen opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. Every home in this neighborhood will pay a token maintenance fee, small enough not to sting, but enough to acknowledge the service. That includes upkeep of the water lines, emergency support, and infrastructure I've kept running out of my own pocket while Karen here was too busy pretending she was mayor. Gasps, whispers. No one objected. And Karen, you'll personally cover the cost of the legal fees I had to spend defending myself from your baseless petition. You'll issue a written apology, public, not some tucked-away email, and you'll step down from the HOA permanently. She shook her head like a toddler about to throw a tantrum. You can't make me. I already did, I said. You tried to evict the water supplier. You lost. Now you're lucky I'm not sending you the utility bill for the past 2 years. Then Mrs. Gilroy, the sweetest lady in the zip code, stood up with her cane like Moses parting the HOA. I moved to vote in favor of the rancher's proposal and to remove Karen from all board duties immediately. Seconded. Voted. Passed. Karen didn't walk out. She stormed, tripping over a flower pot someone swore had just been watered as she left. Later, her apology showed up in the neighborhood bulletin, wedged between a dog walking ad and a notice about raccoons in trash bins. I framed it right next to the commendation from the city. The first payments came in that month, small checks with big meaning. Each one a signed confession that Karen's empire had been built on ignorance and arrogance. Meanwhile, my ranch thrived, my neighbors smiled, and peace returned to our stretch of land. Minus one clipboard warrior who'd finally learned what happens when you bite the hand that hydrates you. The end, Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think Karen got what she deserved? Comment below.